Hi, my name is Dee. This is Make Better Movies. Our brains are amazingly good at pattern recognition. We're able to take stimulus, mix it with memories, and then emerge with meaning. This kind of pattern recognition spans all kinds of human experience, but for today we're going to talk about visuals in movies and how it relates to the sum of four concept. Meaning in movies can be derived from faces, locations, actions, or even camera moves. But there is one way to show meaning without showing it at all, and that's by building context around a shot. You probably know all about Lev Kuleshov. He showed this effect in the famous study called the Kuleshov effect, where we see a face juxtaposed with a shot of a random object, and then depending on the object, we infer meaning from the face. As it demonstrates, the audience will infer meaning based on the context, or whatever is surrounding the shot. So we can use context not only to infer meaning of shots, but also infer theme and even story elements. For example, some scary movies are able to scare, but without having any scary imagery. It all depends on the context and what the audience infers, and this is what the sum of four concept is. We use the sum of four to create a kind of spectrum to place where you might be as a filmmaker, and what better way to explain art than turning it into math? It goes like this: information given plus information inferred equals the movie. Information given is when the film states its purpose. Information inferred is when the audience infers the purpose. We assume that the movie is a sum of four, and it can be attained several ways. In a 4+0 movie, we're giving all of the information to the audience and not leaving any room for inference. This can be seen in many advertisements, almost any cop TV drama, or soap operas. In a 3+1 movie, we're giving most of the information, enough to where the audience doesn't need to infer anything in order to understand the whole movie, but we're leaving out just enough to let the audience fill in the tiny gaps. Things like backstories or extra characteristics or just details. These can be seen in blockbuster movies, something like Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Ocean's 11, or Interstellar. In a 2+2 movie, we start getting into movies that are only really graspable at a fulfilling level when you infer half of the movie. The audience infers plot details and some motivations behind character actions. The story only makes sense if you fully pay attention from beginning to end, and almost every action requires context to understand. This can be seen in movies like The Matrix, Blade Runner 2049, Mad Max Fury Road, and Hereditary. In a 1+3 movie, we start leaving the story behind. We're just giving small hints here and there that there's even a story at play, but nothing concrete. Most things are inferred, and the movie's plot can change depending on who watches it. We start to rely more on the audience and make more of an expressive piece. This can be seen in movies like Under the Skin, An Andalusian Dog, and Mother. In a 0+4 movie, nothing is given, and therefore it could be anything. It's an entirely interpretive piece, and whether there's a story or not cannot be determined by the masses. Audiences will only get as much as they give in movies like these. Movies that fit this category include Mothlight, Back and Forth, and some art house or any expressive films without descriptions. Of course, inferring meaning can absolutely go overboard. Depending on who you are and how close you are to the material, you could watch a 3+1 movie and treat it like a 2+2. You can infer meaning where there was nothing meant to be inferred. For example, we can see this in real life with things like the pareidolia effect, or confirmation bias. Shows like Breaking Bad and Rick and Morty are infamous for this kind of over-analytical, super-inferred kind of thing. As much as I personally like this kind of technique in movies, it doesn't always work because it depends on the audience. For example, filmmakers have a tendency to read way more into movies than others, simply because they're looking at things like editing, cinematography, and directing. Also, depending on your culture and the way you've been brought up, you may see the rules differently, and just because movies require some interpretation doesn't mean that they're any better than ones that don't. The sum of four concept isn't necessarily a guideline, but more like something to use as inspiration. If you enjoy making movies that are 3+1, try giving a 1+3 a try, or even a 0+4. Notice that all movies are unique and exist on a spectrum instead of a hierarchy. Thanks for watching Make Better Movies. That's the Make Better Movies is the title. I didn't mean make better. Your movies are fine.